Hi friends, it's Sarah, the owner and maker behind Multifarious Nature. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are a new viewer, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, big welcome back. I'm glad you guys are here for another episode. And yeah, if you haven't done so, I sometimes forget to say this, but if you haven't done so, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like if you like the content. I like to talk about fiber goodness and hand-dyed yarn, sometimes spinning end of things, and lots of knitting. So if that's kind of your jam, if you like that kind of thing, definitely make sure you do subscribe because I do try to upload weekly if possible. So, and I've been pretty good about that lately, guys, haven't I? I've been pretty good about it. Okay, so again, we're going to give it a go with our new little microphone and hopefully it will behave itself. I see the little light, so that's a good sign. Yeah, always paranoid about that. But great news is we did get our camera in. So I just have to mess with it so I can learn how to use it to record because I have absolutely no idea. But I would really love to do some fun little videos, maybe recordings of the sheep running around. I know I love that kind of content, so maybe you'll enjoy that too because they are part of the fiber shenanigans. We have 3 Shetland sheep if you are new to the channel. And my name's Sarah, by the way. Hi. Nice to meet you. Please do feel free to introduce yourself in the comments below if you're new. And even if you're not new and you've just never introduced yourself, definitely please do so. I do love to meet all of you guys virtually this way. And maybe someday we can meet in person. That would be really cool. And talk about all the wonderful fiber goodness. Okay, so yeah, shop update end of things. So I kind of alluded to this a little bit in the last video, but I have been working very diligently on some fun fibery goodness for hand spinners. So if you, I mean, you really could do anything, but it's definitely more designed for hand spinners because it's processed wool. So there, I'm going to be going through some fiber stash that I have some beautiful fleeces that I got my hands on. Some were interesting fleeces that took quite a bit of work. So that being said, you may categorize some of those fleeces as what some would call burn pile wool or like, you know, that kind of thing. In other words, those sheep were bred maybe for meat primarily and the wool was like an afterthought, but it's still very usable, really good wool. So an example of that, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, is Suffolk. Suffolk is a sheep that many times the wool is kind of an afterthought for some people, and that's a shame because sometimes it's actually really nice wool. So I have some fun Suffolk. That's one of the breeds that I got my hands on last year. And so I have washed the fleeces using the suet method. So it's a long process to clean them that way. In other words, a lot of time waiting. It's more waiting while it soaks and kind of self breaks down some of the creepy stuff. And then you rinse it. And that being said, these fleeces will, at least at this point, will have lanolin in them. So if you are someone sensitive to lanolin, then this probably wouldn't be something you necessarily would want to do. But if you like the idea of lanolin, because lanolin is the natural water repellent for sheep, you know, it helps to keep the water off of them and protects their little bodies. It definitely is that way for garments. So that's part of the conditioning of your wool. So many times, not always, but many times when you look at wool washes, you may notice that it has lanolin on there. And that's because that's the conditioning property that when you put it into when you soak your garment, it helps moisturize it so that it's not crispy and it will feel soft against your skin, which is another reason why a lot of times they say if you also if you wear a garment a lot and you don't wash it a lot, it's going to feel, the wool will feel softer. And it's because your own body, I know it sounds gross, it sounds gross, but the oils for skin are conditioning the wool. So kind of cool if you have like fisherman's wool sweaters and such. The really nice part is if you use hand spun wool that was not heavily processed. So these are all hand processed. I hand card these bats. And they are going to have that water resistance already built into them. So that's pretty cool. I have worn sweaters like the one I'm currently wearing, and I was out in the rain. Now, it wasn't downpouring, but misty rain, and I was dry. I mean, obviously the garment got a little damp on the outside, but it did not get wet, like saturated or anything. So kind of cool things about wool. Um, so that's really fun. So keep your eyes peeled. Definitely subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't already, because that'll be the best way to find out all the specifics first, because there will be a very limited run of these. I'm going to start getting into doing this more, but it's very time consuming for me. I work full time during the day, so it's really, really hard to do a lot of this processing during the week. It's more on the weekend. So I really have a very limited amount of time to get things done. And yeah, so there's going to be listings that'll go up. I will, of course, announce this in the newsletters first. And then when they go up, that is a limited amount. Once it's gone, it's gone. I can't reproduce it. These fleeces I get and I work with them, and then they're gone. So if you do want to, for one, if you want to buy enough to make a sweater, definitely make sure you do that, because I can't like get more of it. And then yeah, or if you just want to like try it and get one bat, like that would be fun too. So definitely don't want you to miss out if you really want that. So make sure you subscribe, and then you'll be first to find out. Very exciting. It's coming up soon. I know I keep talking about it, and I'm sorry it's taking me a while, but it is quite the process to do this by hand. Most of these bats, I have to run them through at least 4 times, because there is a high amount of veggie matter in some of these fleeces. So like it's a lot of work and a lot of mess to clean up later. You should see my floor after I make one bat. Like if I go through one of them, it's crazy. Anyway, let's talk about the works in progress, shall we? So, works in progress this week. I really primarily worked on one project. I was pretty much a monogamous knitter. I worked on my half and half triangles wrap for the weekend, and then after that, I went to my sweater. So, I'll talk about that briefly here. This is my half and half triangles wrap. The pattern is by Pearl Soho. It is free. So, if you want to make a ginormous, I'm making the large version. There are 2 sizes. I always like to make the large version. And then I'm doing the German short rows for the like the end of row to do the short row. If that makes sense. You're basically making one giant triangle, and then you make another giant triangle. So I have been working with my Winter is Coming colorway, which goes very beautifully, I think, with this kind of water looking, it's a wool blend, and it's that like boucle yarn. So this is a BFL nylon blend, and it's just really fun. Lots of fun speckles, light watery color blues, and here it is in cake form if you want to see it. There's some navy speckling. It's really pretty, and I do have a couple of these in the shop to make some gorgeous socks. I did use this on a sweater for one of my friends, and it's really pretty. So there you go. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a really relaxing knit. I find that if I have a short period of time to work on a project, that one is really fun to work on, because you can just knit a little on it and you won't forget where you're at. You won't forget how like to do the pattern, because it's literally knitting back and forth. And then when you get to your little stitch marker, where you do the short row, you just do the short row, move your stitch marker, and then keep going back and forth, back and forth. It's really, really easy. I love it. I can see why it's so addicting. I think Stacy from Stress Knits, she's knit like, oh my gosh, I think she's knit like 5 or 6 of them or something, maybe even more than that now. She's constantly knitting them. They're always on the needle. It's funny. I love it though. I get it. I get it now. I did not get it before. Like I was just like, it's just, I say it's just, it looks like I'd get bored, because I know when I learned knitting a scarf, and it's just knitting on one side, stockinette. So knitting on one side and purling on the other. I got bored. Like that's what I started knitting. I knit scarves like most people do, or many people do. And I got bored, and I kind of like put down knitting. And thinking back, I'm like, why all those years? I could have been knitting. But, it's okay. I'm into it now. I get it now. But that was a lot of it. Like, so doing that. So when I looked at the half and half triangles wrap, I kept thinking, it's just garter stitch. Like that gotta be boring. Just knitting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like that's gotta be boring. No, it's not. It's very relaxing. And then when you get to the short row, and then you're like, oh look, I'm making a triangle, and then you get to the end, and then you make the other one, and then you're like, I've got this big blanket of a shawl, and you can use it as a blanket. I use it as a blanket. It's amazing. So I highly recommend it. If you have not made the half and half triangles wrap, you should do it. Do it. Peer pressure. Try it. Just try it. Try it once. I highly recommend actually doing it with your remnants. So if you have remnants from projects and you're like, I don't know what to do with this remnants, put them all into one and make a scrappy half and half triangles wrap. And I say it's half and half. And what you could do is kind of what I'm doing. So basically one triangle is like certain colors, and then the other triangle will be other colors. I'll show you. If you're new, you won't know this because you didn't watch my other videos, probably. So if you haven't watched my other videos, as you can see, I've got that like light blue and greens, and then I've got some green. This is all going to go into the one triangle, and then there's this gray blue, and I think I have another one. Oh yeah, got this one too. This is really pretty. Green and blue. A lot of these are colors that I've dyed or remnants from like a winter kits that I got from others. But so I'm going to work with those on one triangle, and then the other will be these deep purples and green. So again, it's green, but it's a different shade of green, and then it's the darker colors. So I feel like that's going to be fun contrast. So I feel like that's the biggest thing to do with the half and half. And again, you don't have to do this. If you want the contrast, do contrast. I feel like that works really well, like light colors, dark colors, or bright colors and more muted. The other thing though is you could just make it a bunch of different stripes all over, and then it just looks like kind of a stripy, interesting, different directional piece, and it would look really cool. Because there is one of the patterns for the half and half triangles wrap that I think is the striped version. So it's actually designed that way. I just went and winged it and totally am just doing my own thing. But you could do that where it actually then like stripes them and stuff. Totally up to you. But I do recommend it. I really love that pattern. I love it. That's my second one. Will I make another one? Who knows? Who knows? But I'm enjoying it. All right. So now we're going to talk about my sweater I've been working on. Okay, so I've been working on this a lot. I got bit by the sweater bug hard. Well, so I was working on the colorwork section, and then I went kind of crazy. So this is the what's the name of it? Arctica sweater. And I forgot the name of her thing again. It's a Sashi & Co. or something. I think it's Sashi & Co. She used to be known as the Petite Knitter. She's kind of moving to a different branding name. Anyway, it's using a Sciencey Cool, which is wonderful. If you've not worked with it before, it is prickly. So if you're sensitive to prickle factor, you probably won't care for it, but it's Lopi. It's fabulous. I love Lopi. Very, very warm, fabulous wool, thick, worsted, like heavy worsted weight, basically. And it's beautiful. This is so pretty. Isn't it fun? Look at this progress, guys. Holy moly. So last time we spoke, I was up here in the colorwork section, and I was like a couple rows from being done. So funny story about that. I actually screwed up this patterning, and I thought, it's not a big deal. I could just leave it. It won't be a problem. It's on the back of the sweater. No one will see it. And then when I went to split for the sleeves, I discovered it was actually the front of the sweater where this was all screwed up. So I did have to rip it out. I had to rip all 5 rows. I think it was 5. Oh yeah, I was like 3 or 4 rows from being done with the color work. I screwed up on the row prior to those rows I needed to knit. And so instead of fixing it right away, which so many people would be like, Sarah, fix it, I was like, it won't matter. And so I knit through those other rows, and then I realized it will matter. So I did have to rip it back. And instead of ripping one row back, I had to rip all 5 rows back. And then I redid it, and it was fine. It's okay. I enjoy knitting, so doing it again is not a big deal. But I could have avoided that if I just did it right away. Normally, mistakes are not a big deal, but when it's the colorwork patterning like this and it kind of is in your face, it's gonna look obvious. So, alas, I could have been further. I am done with the colorwork, which is super exciting. And that is why I made some serious progress. I also have worked on this during my breakfast, I have worked on this during my lunch, and I work it in the evening. So I have been knitting primarily on this all week. So this is literally like almost a week's worth of progress. So it's a lot of knitting. You have to remember too, this is like worsted weight. It's really heavy weight. This is size 9 needle? 6. Size 6 needle. So there's some decent sized stitches. And you could just knit away. And because you're just knitting at this point, I can watch TV while I'm knitting and I don't have to look down at it anymore. I have gotten so much better. And really, I did what people say, like Nitty Natty said, and there's a couple other like YouTubers and stuff that have said it, where they say, look at something, like watch a movie, watch something, maybe even read a book. That's why maybe I can read a book soon. Oh, you guys, maybe I could read a book while I knit. That would be really cool, wouldn't it? So I found if I look at something else while I'm knitting, your hands know what to do. It's fascinating. It's so true. So it's a little funky and finicky in the beginning, but if you're just doing knitting, like stockinette knitting, so rhythmic, same rhythm back and forth, you can do it. I believe in you. Give it a shot. It makes your knitting so much faster, and it's fabulous because then you can do multiple things at once, like really well. It's fabulous. I just love it. It's so fun. So I am working up this color here. I am working my way down the body. I'm still debating if I want to do the cropped version or like the short version versus the long. And I know many will be probably yelling at me, Sarah, do the long. You know you want to only do the long. That's true. I like long sweaters. I probably will do something between because I don't know if I have enough to do the long version in this color. So I might end up doing what I always do, which is I basically will put I say on hold. I'll put these stitches basically on hold, and then I'll start knitting the sleeves, complete the sleeves to the length I want, and then use all the rest of this colorway to do the length of the body. That way, for sure, I'll have enough for my sleeve length that I want. I love my like bracelet length sleeves. Those are my favorite. So that's probably what I will do with this one. That's like my go-to sleeve length. I just love this sweater. It's so beautiful. And again, I'm not a big yellow person per se, but this is a fun yellow. It's like it glows and it goes so beautifully with the rest of this sweater. So I just think it's so fun. What a beautiful color work. And this was from Stash, you guys, that my mom found at a thrift store. She found these at a thrift store, all of it at once. I was so excited when she presented that to me because I thought, it's Icelandic wool. I love that stuff. It makes beautiful warm sweaters. And because this is some areas, it's like 3 stranded color work. Oh, let me tell you, this is gonna be so warm. I cannot wait. And as you can see, I am making some serious progress. So, I mean, the possibility of me finishing this by mid-March, it could happen. I didn't think it could, but if I decide not to work on my half and half for a little bit and just like do the sleeves on this bad boy, because if I'm doing this kind of progress on the body, the sleeves are going to go so much faster. Seriously. So I'm feeling good about it, you guys. I'm feeling pretty good. This has boosted my confidence with getting this done. So thank you for those that have believed in me. I'm excited. So yeah, Arctica sweater by the Petite Knitter, or I think it's Sashki and Sashkin Co. I'm probably not saying that right. It's probably wrong, but she did change her name. I am right about that. It's just so beautiful. So beautiful. I'm really excited about it. So yeah, I have been working away on that bad boy like hardcore. But I have also been reading. So I have been reading. So we'll talk about that next. So that's like the knitting end of things. We're gonna talk some about books for a hot second. So really only one book, and this is that Errands and Espionage. I'm kind of learning this. So yeah. Hopefully nobody got the February box and hasn't opened it yet for Woolberry Co. because I kind of just ruined it. I usually kind of give a big preface and say, hey, don't want to ruin it for anybody. Sorry, I didn't say that. Anyway, if you got the Woolberry box for February, the book club box, don't watch the rest of this part. All right, anyway. I did not open any of the goodies yet. I'm very close, though. If I read like Banshee today, I might be able to open it. So this one came with 4 goodies, as you can see by the little tabs. And I'm very close to that second tab. Here's my bookmark. Very close. So this is that Errands and Espionage. It's cute. It's cute. It's fun. It's getting more fun. It's very lighthearted, as I said in the past video. So it's just fun. Is this normally my cup of tea for a book? Not exactly. I tend to like, well, I liked The Devil in the White City by Eric Lawson, and that is a heavy book. I mean, it has to do with a serial killer in Chicago during the World Fair, and it's kind of, it's heavy. That's a heavy book. It's not like it's massive, but it's dense, and there's a lot going on in there, and it's a historical fiction, so it's like, there's some truth to it, and then he has some fun with it. So this is very different. This is lighthearted, kind of comedy, and also serious, kind of a drama-ish. It's cute. It's fun though. It's a fun change. So it's Sam Shida is the author, and easy to read. I mean, I'm making my way through it. I just read for a touch here and there, like maybe 20 minutes a day is kind of what I've been doing because after I work out, I've been trying to be diligent about exercising. I try to read a little bit. So that's, again, I'm trying to work that muscle. I like to read. I loved reading as a kid. I'd like to get back into it. And so I love knitting. And so if I could knit and read, I envy those that can do that. I know being envious is not a good thing, but I tell you what, I really admire it. I admire people that can knit and read. Now, my real question for you is, if you can knit and read, do you get lost in your book if you're knitting while you read? Because I feel like, could you get lost in it? Maybe. I guess you could. I mean, I can watch movies and be invested while I'm knitting, so maybe. I don't know. The difference is, in a movie and stuff, it shows you the imagery and it shows you the world, right? Where you're reading about the world and you have to envision it. So I don't know. I'm curious. I am curious about that. If you are someone who likes to read and knit, you're that talented person that I would love to be. How's that work for you? Do you really get lost in books, into the world and everything while you're knitting? I'm very curious. Curious minds are inquiring. Anyway, cute book though. If you want something fun, that's lighthearted. So far, it's not really like romance or anything at the moment, but it could happen. I'm guessing. I mean, anything's possible. But it's cute. It's cute. It's cute. Errands and Espionage. So I'm almost to my second goodie. We got our first one. My little tin. Working on the second one, and then there's, of course, the yarn colorway is one of the goodies too. Excuse me. one of the goodies. Yeah. So there you go. Exciting stuff. Anyway, and then this is kind of a book, but it's not really like, it's not really a book. Well, it is a book, but again, these books, I bought all these things. They're not provided to me. I bought them. But gardeners, this is for all you gardeners out there. Are you planting your garden? Of course you are, because this is the time of year where people start planting things, or at least thinking about planting things. Oh, it's exciting. We had a little bit of a thaw recently, and so I started like ripping out weeds in areas with a hoe. I did already start doing that. That was it felt good. It felt really good. The ground is pretty frozen still, but we're getting there, you guys. We are getting there. So the book I'm referring to is The Complete Gardener's Guide, One-Stop Guide to Plant, Sow, or One-Stop Guide to Plant, Sow, Plant, and Grow Your Garden, or Plan, Sow, Plant, and Grow Your Garden. Good grief. I got it 25% off. It was on sale. I got this like years ago from Barnes & Noble. Again, not sponsored. It's a massive book. You can use it as a weapon. It is heavy. I love this thing. I love it. It has so many different plants in here. It tells you like when. So for example, I'm going to be doing pumpkins this year because our sheep love pumpkins. And I had a hardship and a half trying to get my hands on pumpkins last year. Once I figured out that they liked them, it was after people get rid of their pumpkins. And so trying to get pumpkins was interesting. But our girls love their pumpkins. So I'm going to grow pumpkins. And so it tells you like when you should plant it, when you harvest it, and like tips and tricks. And hey, try these varieties. Watch out for these things like pests and stuff like that. So really great. It talks about drying and storing. How to grow. It's really great. So I'm sure there's many books out there like this. This is just the one I came across. And it's just great. There's lots of good information in here. There's tips on even ponds in here if you have lawn problems. So not only like gardening, like plants, like planting veggies and things like that. There's also stuff for like your grass and topiaries and how to cut a hedge, like troubleshooting plants for this and that. I love it. It basically has everything in there. Again, there's probably other great guides that are out there. It's a new edition, and let me see who wrote this thing. DK Books. Maybe it's DK Books. Doesn't say. So DK Books. We're gonna go with that. DK for the curious. That's what it is on the back. So there you go. For the curious. And you might be able to get used ones out there, maybe. I don't know, but I have used this a lot, so I feel like it was a good investment and very helpful. Talks about pruning, things like that. So I think things like that, it's good. I'm trying to plan. I'm trying to figure out like I said, we want to do pumpkins. I'm trying to debate if I want to do green beans again. We froze a bunch, but this last year's didn't grow that well. I don't know. That patch, I think I need to redo the soil a bit, like really revigorate. Is that the right word? The soil. So I'm trying to think of a few different things. I've heard tips. We have chickens that free range, and so I'm debating collecting their shells as we use the eggs and grinding up those shells and then putting that in the dirt to give it calcium. And then I use coffee grounds. So that's a way to get some acid into the soil. And then maybe some compost, like fresh compost. We do not compost yet. I know, I need to. Of course, there's also the sheep. The sheep poop is fabulous for gardens. So getting some of that in there, all that good stuff. I always use the suet. So when I do the suet soak for the fleeces, when I'm done using it, I use that really forbidden tea, as many refer to it, and I put that in the garden to help as well. So it's full of nitrogen, like really would be good for the garden fertilizer. Maybe I overdo it. I don't know. But last year's garden was not very happy with me. Um, yeah, it was not very happy with me. Our first year was great. This last year just did not do so well. So I think I need to do some serious work on the soil, is my understanding. I don't want to till it. I'm trying to go with the no-till method because I have heard that when you like worms and all that kind of stuff, they naturally aerate and the biome and all that stuff with your soil. Like you really don't want to just like really stir it up, is my understanding. That's my understanding. Not an expert. I am a very new gardener. Just learning how to grow things, guys. So I'm just trying to figure that out, like what to do. Maybe get some like a layer of wood chips in there and like add soil on top of that with the like compost and all that kind of stuff. Just try to figure that out. If you guys have any tips, if you're better, like if you have a good green thumb, like you've had really good like especially with tomatoes. I love tomatoes. We're gonna plant tomatoes again, and now I have to rotate them. I have to put them in a different bed. So I will probably put them back in the bed, which I'm a little nervous about. Put them back in the bed that didn't do so well. But I don't want to put them in the same one I did last year. So put them in the bed that I grew them in 2 years ago. Yeah, not last year, but the year prior. Um, Again, putting fresh soil down on top and things like that. And maybe we'll be good. I don't know. Tomatoes are an interesting little beast. I definitely think I need to put some stuff into the soil for the tomatoes because that just seems to be an issue. And also, I learned, so this is my other big oops, is that we have a sprinkler system that I use to water the plants. And yeah, you really can't do that with tomatoes. You should not water them up above because if the water collects on top of the tomato, it causes rot, and that's a problem. Tomatoes, like my understanding is you really should water them at the base, and that's it. Learning curve. So again, it's actually a good thing for me to put the plant tomatoes back in the corner they were in before because that's the furthest point from the sprinkler. I don't know. It's a total learning curve. So yeah, if you guys have any tips, please share them with me. I would so appreciate it because my cucumbers were garbage last year. They did not do well at all. They were really sad. And my eggplants were laughable. They were teeny tiny little eggplants, like teeny tiny. So I don't know the secrets. You guys should share the secrets with me. I will learn eventually. I think the problem is really, honestly, let's be honest, is that I'm trying to do a million things at once. And so what is it that saying, like the jack of all trades, master of none, something better than, I don't know. So in other words, like I like to do a lot of different things and I'm okay at many different things. But then there are things I'm just not great at. And I would really like to be great at it. Someday I will be a good gardener. I'll get there. Half the battle is these weeds. Oh my goodness, the weeds are insane. So we have decent soil. We must have decent soil because everything just like takes off like crazy in our garden. So I'm trying to like mentally figure out how I want to attack the garden. I've heard things where people put cardboard down in areas for walkways. I want to try that this year in the garden. Like the garden. I have two gardens. So I have like my garden with the flowers, and then I've got my garden that is a fenced in vegetable garden. So my fenced in vegetable garden, I think I want to try putting down cardboard in the walkway areas, and then I would love to put wood chips down. They're expensive. If I can find a way to get cheap wood chips, I would love to do that and put that down on the ground, because that then will be like a good weed block. Because oh my goodness, they used to put, they had wood chips down, the prior owners, from like 3 years ago now. Gosh, I can't believe we've been here almost that long. Man, time goes by fast. So they did that, but that's starting to break down, right? So the weeds have now gone through those barriers. They had like weed block underneath the wood chips, and that weed block was the fiber kind, and it's now like the weeds have gone through that. So it's, the weeds last year were horrific. They were really bad in that garden. Oh my word, it was so time consuming to work on them. So my goal would be to put down cardboard in, I'll see if I can get that from my husband, because we hang on to boxes, but we use those for packing materials and things. But if I can get my hands on some boxes, especially they're big boxes, and then I can put them out in the garden in the walkways, and then cover them with wood chips. If I can find some cheap wood chips, that would be amazing. That'll revitalize, because that will take half of the time that I spend on weeding, and then I can put it towards taking care of the plants, which is important. The weeding is part of taking care of the plants, but that's like, if I don't have to weed it as much, that would be a good thing. That would be a good thing, wouldn't it? Can you hear the wheels? You can hear it, can't you? Anyway, yeah, crazy. So that's about it, I think. So my biggest thing right now, like in life update end of things, is, well, I got two things actually. Let's talk about that. One, the garden is like big thing. We've got the birds. We're working with the birds. We got 2 little baby chicks that we're adding to our birds. So we got them, and then we're getting more sheep. Did I say that before? I don't think I said that in the last video. Maybe I did. I don't remember. Anyway, we're looking for getting 2 more sheep. So we have three girls, 3 ewes. We're gonna get 2 more ewes is the goal. Yeah, there was a talk about, should we get a ram? We don't have a separate house for the ram. We can add on to the house for the girls that we currently have, and then we can have more girls. But to have a separate space for the ram, yeah, that's not quite something we have set up yet. So the whole ram situation's a little bit tricky. I mean, yeah. I'm still trying to figure out the whole ram thing, like if we want to do that. I mean, that would be ideal, because breeding the ewes and having lambs is the ideal way in some aspects to like build your flock. It's definitely affordable in that sense. But the whole, like, having a ram, for those of you that have sheep, I know Carrie watches this once in a while from My Wool and Mitten, and if Carrie, if you're on here, that would be amazing. Yeah, how do you deal with rams? How does that work? It's they're tricky to me, because obviously you have to pay attention to them. You have to like watch them 24/7 while you're in there, because they can be stinkers, and I just don't know. Yeah, they're little rams, but they're perfect head, like their heads will be at the perfect spot to really take out your knees. So yeah, rams do intimidate me a little bit. I hate to say that. They're cute as a button when they're babies, but I know what they can do. I have done research. They can be quite problematic. So yeah, if anybody who's had rams have any tips or advice, we are very new to sheep. So after doing research, it seems like it's not advised for people that are new to sheep to do rams, or to take on rams. But yeah, yeah, not sure about that. Anyway, that's that. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Definitely feel free to share about any of your knitting, fiber shenanigans, any fun stuff like that. Sheep shenanigans. Hello. But yeah, last weekend we got to spend a bunch of time with baby lambs, and you know, that is hard. It is hard to hold a bunch of baby lambs, you know, like how I literally had them climbing in my lap. I had a little baby lamb falling asleep in my lap. They were 2 weeks old, and she was falling asleep in my lap, and I was like, can I just take her home right now? You know? Like this little baby lamb, they're so cute with their little bitty faces. They're so tiny. I could take them all home. I really could. We don't have the space for them all. Oh gosh, they're so cute. Anyway, I was literally hyped up. Like if you want to feel good, go somewhere where they have baby lambs. Spend time with the baby lambs, and you will be on baby lamb high. You'll be on a high of baby lambs, and you'll feel amazing. And yeah, it's great stuff. The hard part is if you can take them home. You want to take them all home. But anyway, we're trying to narrow it down. I've got down to just like I've narrowed it to 3. I think we've narrowed it to 3. One for certain. She's so adorable, and she has a little bit of a different crimp. Like she has a crimpier wool than the girls we currently have, which will be excellent. It's nice to have variety, and then she's made different colors, so that will be fun too. Want some color variety, not only for individual color, but then I can blend them. Oh, that'll be fun. Okay. I'm geeking out on sheepies. Yeah, so that's super fun. That's what we've been up to. So yeah, after I get off here, I'm going to take care of the girls. I'm going to go give them some hay. They're going to be excited about that. And yeah, enough jabbering from my end. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, that you take care, and that you are healthy, that you're staying healthy. My goodness, this flus are going around like crazy right now. So I hope you're healthy. And if you happen to be sick, I hope you get better very soon. I still have a little bit of a cough and stuff. It's just a little lingering thing. It's very obnoxious. But almost there, guys. Almost there. Take care. Chat with you soon.